Pennichuck Water Special Committee to order on April 14th, 2021 at 7:01 p.m. remotely in accordance with Governor's Emergency Order Number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04. As chairman of the Pennichuck Special Water Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the Governor's Emergency Order Number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which is authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda on the city's website for the meeting. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099. Excuse me. Meeting ID 828-6062-6055 and passcode 9999999. The public may also view the meeting via channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanewhampshire.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien Sr. is present. I can hear the proceedings and I am alone. Alderman at Large Laurie Wilshire.
I am here, I am alone, and I can hear the proceedings.
Alderman Richard A. Dowd is on important business. Alderman Skip Cleaver, also on important business this evening. Alderman at Large Brandon Michael Laws.
I am here, I can hear the proceedings, and I am alone.
Mr. Chairman, also in attendance are Alderman Schmitz and Harriet Gathright. And also in attendance is Larry Goodhue, CEO of Pennichuck, Don Ware, COO of Pennichuck, and Thomas J. Leonard, Director of Pennichuck Corporations.
Thank you very much, Alderman O'Brien. Moving forward, communications.
We have communications from Larry Goodhue, Chief Executive of Pennichuck Corporation. The reason is Pennichuck Corporation's quarterly report to the sole shareholder for the quarter ending September 30th, 2020.
Now, before I accept that communication and place it on file, Mr. Goodhue, if you would like to give us a brief overview.
Sure. And just for the record, in addition to myself and Mr. Ware and Mr. Leonard, in attendance are also John Bovair, who is our Chief Engineer, Chris County, who is our Director of Water Supply, and George Torres, who is our Corporate Controller and Chief Accounting Officer. Just for the record, so you have that. With respect to this first communication, it was provided to you a lot later than it normally would be, and that really had to do with COVID-related issues relative to the closing and year-end. Why is the quarter ended September 30 report important for you? Number one, it's part of our routine communication to give you updates for quarterly performance as well as year-to-date performance. The quarterly report ended September 30th is important in that it is a representation of financial performance within the year, virtually at the end of, I'm going to say, our highest season within the year. When you look at the months of July, August, September, a great deal of our water pumpage occurs in those months. You do start to see a ramp up in pumpage maybe in May and June, and you do still see some high pumpage in October, petering off into November into what we would call our base consumption months. But a good deal of water is used in the summer versus in the off months because people, in addition to using it for consumptive needs, are using it in addition for irrigation needs during the summer months. So the results are for the 9 months and 3 months included in this report are representative of that performance and that end of season, end of the summer season. So if you turned to, and I'm not going to go through the whole report, but maybe point out some of the highlights. If you turn to page 3 of the report, it talks about the unaudited financial highlights. And basically what it shows there is quarter ended September 30 results comparative to the prior year's quarter, as well as year-to-date 9-month results as of September 30, 2020 compared to 2019. And what you'll see right off the bat is for the quarter ended September 30th, about a $2 million increase in revenues year on year. And then for the 9 months ended, it's about a 3.5 or $3.7 million increase year on year. And so that is representative of a couple of things. Number one, as you recall, we started to get some pretty dry weather in the summer last year. It was the beginning of a drought. The drought persists as of this time. In fact, we were just having a management staff meeting this afternoon and talking about the updates that the DES gives to the overall state drought map, and where there are areas that, there are areas of concern and areas that we're actually having to put some water restrictions on coming into the beginning of the season. And we're going to be looking at it very diligently as a good steward of the water supply relative to how we moderate water consumption uses based on the drought in working with the DES. So part of this revenue increase was based on consumption being higher in the summer of 20 than it was in 19, but it's also representative of rate increases that were earned out of rate case activities and investments that we've also made relative to capital, for which we get a QCPAC surcharge to cover the cost of that debt service on those entities. And so if you go all the way to the bottom line of those results on that page, the key thing that we focus on is the last line, what we call EBITDA. So earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And for the quarter ended September 30, 2020, our EBITDA was $7.9 million, up from $6.2 million the previous year. And again, what that's all about is that revenue variance falling all the way to the bottom line. And then for the 9 months ended, 15.1 versus 11.5. So again, that entire revenue difference really falling to the bottom line, because when you look at our operating expenses, they were pretty much parity play relative to the quarter and for the 9 months results. So those are the key things in this report that I would focus on, unless there's some specific questions, because then the more important information that we furnish to you is year-end information, which is in the next communication on file with the committee for this meeting tonight.
Sorry, I have to change windows here. Any of my colleagues have any questions before I accept the communication and place it on file? Speak now, or forever hold your peace. All right, there being no objection, I'll accept the communication and place it on file. And Alderman O'Brien.
You're on mute, Alderman O'Brien.
Sorry about that. I was doing so good too. Okay. Further communications from Larry G. Goodhue, Chief Executive Officer of Pennichuck Corporation. Reason, annual meeting of the sole shareholders. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to recommend the election of the following individuals to the Pennichuck Corporation Board of Directors until their successors are elected and qualified. David B. Bernier, Stephen D. Genest, and Thomas J. Leonard for 3-year terms, and authorize the mayor to transmit by proxy card the vote of the sole shareholders to the Board of Directors of the Pennichuck Corporation by roll call.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to this? Mr. Goodyear?
All I would say is we have 3 different classes of directors, each with overlapping 3-year terms. So one class comes mature, I guess, each year on a 3-year cycling basis. The 3 gentlemen that are being offered up for re-election in this term are 3 members of our board that I'm going to say are charter members of the board all the way back to January 25th of 2012. So when the initial board was seated based on interviews and election by the shareholder, the city of Nashua, these were 3 individuals out of that board of directors of 10 members at that time that were seated and have acted in their various capacities. Mr. Leonard has been the chairman of the board as elected and reappointed by his board members through that entire period of time. Mr. Janess has not only been a board member, but through that entire period of time has acted as the chairman of the Compensation and Benefits Committee. And Mr. Bernier has been a member of the Compensation and Benefits Committee and the Audit, Finance, and Risk Committee at various parts of his tenure during that period of time since January of 2012. I guess I would ask our chairman, Mr. Leonard, if he has anything he would like to add to what I just mentioned.
Yes, so thank you. As you know, my name is Jay Leonard. I'm chairman of the board of directors, and I think it's probably worth a quick summary of what we go through in the process. I am on the slate here today, so all of my comments are recommendations for others than me. But I think really the most important thing this committee probably wants to hear is our process. And what we do at the Nominating and Governance Committee is each year we review the slate of individuals who are up for re-election, but we do it with particular direction and diligence to make sure that first off, each of the individuals wants to be renominated, and secondly, each individual has been should be re-elected or renominated. And we go through it carefully about each individual and the role they have played in the last couple of years and the role they want to play going forward. So we try to make sure that we just don't make it an automatic thing is what I'm trying to say to you. And once the committee makes a recommendation, it then goes to the full board for other consideration. We encourage everyone at the full board to participate in the process, both by way of comments or by way of active participation in the committee meeting. So we take a little bit of pride in making sure we don't just rubber stamp things and keep moving forward in a complacent way. With respect to the slate before you, I think I would actually like to comment that it happens to be that we are the 3 that have been on from the beginning and will be the longest. There are a couple others that have been in from the beginning, but particular importance, I think, with Steve Janest. Steve is from Nashua, very aware of Nashua's concerns and issues. And he is also very expert in HR related, employment related matters. So he has carried the ball from the beginning in that regard, works very closely with the HR department in the company. Dave Bernier is expert in the sense that he's an operator. And he has been in the business of operating water and sewer and public utilities for many, many years. And he brings a certain practical expertise that is an important role on our board. And my role in things here is it's kind of been the same from the beginning, and I think probably everybody knows what that is. But I certainly look forward to continued participation. I enjoy the role of chairman. You know, these meetings, just making sure that we answer your questions the way they need to be answered, and playing that role in the liaison to the city, if you will. As chairman, from the beginning, we decided that the chairman should be a member of all the committees just to make sure that the chairman actually knew what was going on, because we were all learning, as you were, we were. And so my role as chairman is to make sure I know what's going on at each level in each committee, and that continues to be the role of the chairman. So I think that's probably a pretty good summary of how we approach this thing and how these 3 individuals fit in. So thank you.
There was a summary on the level of the type of summary we have come to expect from you and your colleagues. And simply by virtue of how well the organization is run, I can't imagine anyone objecting to these appointments. But any of my fellow aldermen have any comments or questions? Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, since the beginning, where the city invested into the Pennichuck, which was a wonderful idea, that a municipality, it seems to be done in other communities. And we've had many of these people on the board. I think the situation of co-partnership between Pennichuck Corporation and the city of Nashua has been great. And I see no problem with these three nominees to this position. And I urge my colleagues to vote along with me to tell the mayor via the proxy card to support this vote. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you, Alderman O'Brien. Alderman Wilshire.
Thank you. I would like to thank these three candidates for accepting the renomination to this board. It's really worked out well. I think, you know, the whole thing was, well, iffy in the beginning, and as we all know, and I've been here since then too. So I mean, I appreciate you, Jay Leonard and Mr. Bernier and Mr. Janess, all fine individuals, and I have no problem supporting this. So thank you all very much. You're doing a great job at Pennichuck.
And thank you, Alderman Wilshire. That being said, would the clerk like to take a roll? Or the motion before us, sorry, I'm not good at protocol. The motion before us is for final passage. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes. Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 3 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carried. Unfinished business.
There is none.
New business resolutions.
There is none.
Tabled in committee.
There is none.
New business ordinance.
There is none.
Remarks by the alderman. Anybody, anything they'd like to add? I'll just say what I usually say at the end of these meetings. It's always a pleasure speaking with you gentlemen. I appreciate it. Doing a great job. You make it easy for me, which is appreciated more than I can relate to you. So thank you for that.
Well, we appreciate the cooperation and working with this committee. And I guess the one thing I would ask is there anything that any of you would like us to give you an update on relative to operations of the company, or anything that's going on that maybe you've heard, or you've had, you know, people within your respective wards, questions that we might be able to answer at this time?
There was the brown water issue that I brought to your attention a few weeks ago. I imagine that's been resolved at this point.
Yes, and in fact, our annual flushing activities actually began this last week. So, you know, that's that's an effort where we have comprehensive outreach to customers to let them know that's happening. It happens, you know, in various regions throughout the city. Chris County on the water supply side, and Alan Brown, who's the head of our distribution department, work seamlessly with Tara King, who heads up our revenue and customer operations department, to basically put information on our website, to reach out to customers directly, and also to push information out on Facebook. And one of the reasons that we do this annual flushing is to actually create a situation to minimize or eliminate colored water incidents throughout the year. It's a part of a good stewardship of the distribution system to do this, as I've been told by Mr. Ware, Mr. County, and Mr. Bovair on countless occasions. You know, one of the things that we do stress, however, colored water incidents can occur. And when they do occur, we may not be aware of them. We're not in somebody's house. And so what we encourage people to do, if there is an incident like that, please reach out to us at the company so we can deal with it, so we can react to it. because sometimes things happen that we're not aware of, and we want to fix them. We want to remedy them, but without knowing, we can't do that. I'll give you an example. One of the communities we serve, the fire department in that community decided to do some practice on one of the hydrants over the weekend, and it created a colored water incident in that neighborhood. We weren't aware that they were going to go out and practice on the hydrant, and we weren't aware that colored water was happening in houses until the phone started ringing with customers saying, hey, something's going on. And that's when we can react. So it's very important that people don't call City Hall when they've got a colored water incident. They call us, because if they call City Hall, they've just delayed the amount of time for which we can react to their problem. And we want to be able to cure it.
Certainly. Thank you for that update. Anybody else? Any questions? Oh, Alderman Schmidt.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for taking my question. Like the colored water, we've also heard a few people talk about a chlorine smell. Is that related to colored water? Thank
It is
you.
not, but I'm going to ask Mr. County to unmute and talk about that, because as a director of water supply, one of the things that he's really in charge of is how we maintain proper water quality. Mr. County, can you unmute and offer up a response on that? Can't hear you, Chris.
Let's see if I can unmute this.
Yeah,
You
good.
can hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So we've had a number of complaints this year, not extraordinary, but we've had some folks that have called in and have had, shown some concern about the level of chlorine smell that they're seeing. And generally chlorine, it's a disinfectant that we're using on a continual basis throughout the year. And when the water is colder, it may present itself a little bit more strong in people's senses throughout the winter months, because the water is colder. As you expose it to air, it quickly comes out of the solution, and you can smell it much more readily. We add chlorine, obviously, to disinfect the distribution system, and we're adding it to the about 1 part per million, or 1 milligram per liter, and that has been consistent throughout the years. And we do have some concerns with that. We talk to folks about it. We will generally take a sample from their homes to make sure that their concerns are addressed, and to make sure that we're not exceeding any standard established for chlorine residual. But it's one of those kind of necessary evils, if you will. There is a taste and odor concern with chlorine disinfection, but the benefits certainly outweigh the bad taste, if you will.
And if you don't mind me asking, if there's no health concerns that correlate to chlorine consumption when you're drinking your tap water?
No, in years past, obviously the use of chlorine as a disinfectant was a great health benefit that was started in the early 20th century. In time, the science showed that there was some concern about the formation of what's called disinfection byproducts, chlorine reacting with natural organic matter and creating certain types of disinfection byproducts that over time could be cancer causing. But that was addressed in the surface water treatment rule through the EPA, and so we remove those organic precursors and add the chlorine to make sure that we're not producing those disinfection byproducts that over time could be cancer causing. So it's really been mitigated, that the issues associated with chlorine disinfection.
Great. Thank you for that explanation. Alderman Schmidt? You done? All right. Anybody else? Okay. Possible non-public session,
There's none.
and I suppose we are looking for a motion here, Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion to adjourn by roll call.
Motion is to adjourn by roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Wiltshire,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes. Alderman Laws.
I've been having fun, but I'm going to vote yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 3 yeas, 0 nays.
All right. The Motion carries. The meeting's adjourned at 7:26 PM. I'd like to thank everyone. As always, I appreciate it, and my colleagues on the board, you're the best. You all have a great night.
You are.
This
Thank
night.
you very much.